All right, welcome into the first ever live edition of the Lucas and Lucas podcast. I am hoping this is streaming from StreamYard, where Frankel and I are located, over to the Mike Lucas Sports YouTube channel. So we will see if that is actually happening here in 1 second. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you don't know who Lucas Frankel is, he's been on UCSS once as an overtime guest before the Browns played the Jets. We went to college together. I was part of his wedding party a few weeks ago. We've been doing a podcast together now, Frank, for over a decade. We started our radio show in 2011. We took a little hiatus in the middle, but we have essentially been talking sports for over a decade now. And if this works, it'll become a weekly live thing. But you are the lead of the show. Before we get into it, tell the people who you are, where you're from, what you do, and let's get to it. And by the way, we are live on the channel, Frank. So welcome to the live world of streaming for the first time in your life.
So I am the great Lucas Frankel. I am a producer at CBS Sports HQ in Stamford, Connecticut, and I am the mastermind behind the Lucas and Lucas brand, one of the most well-known brands in all sports. Yeah. And I was originally going to lead off with Juan Soto because who the hell knows what's going on with Juan Soto. But
before you go, last thing we should tell the people, we've won multiple awards as a college radio show. We have won multiple awards in my mind for best podcast that has nothing to do about anything. And we're going to talk about a lot of random stuff. So we're going to hit the worldwide of sports and kind of gloss over it all. So Frank, take it away. Let's start with the.
So I wanted to start off with I was going to lead off with Soto, but I got to just have a few thoughts about Dan Campbell. And there were two controversial fourth down decisions in the game on Thursday night. The first one was deep in their own territory at their own 31-yard line. They went for it on a 4th and 1, didn't get it. And that decision I absolutely positively hated. I believe it was like a one possession game at the time, and you don't get that. The risk reward there in my mind is just, it's too great of a risk to risk it in that situation. And I hated the call. However, with the game on the line, about 40 seconds to go, 4th and inches in field goal range, where you could have kicked the field goal and dared Jordan Love to drive down the field in about 30 to 35 seconds. I actually loved the call from Dan Campbell in that moment. I thought that was the right move. Why even your defense couldn't stop a nosebleed the entire second half? Why even risk it if you get the inches? Basically, you wind the clock down, you kick the field goal. There's the risk reward there. I thought the reward was so much greater than the risk in that situation, because even if let's say you didn't get the first down, then Jordan Love's got to drive 65 yards in about 30 seconds, and and why even risk, him touching the ball again when all you have to do is literally go from basically the difference between me and you on this screen to get the first down. I thought that was a great call. But there have also been instances with Dan Campbell, like in the NFC title game this year. I literally just before the show, I watched the game back. Not the whole game, but I watched highlights, the key plays. Yeah. And there were two moments where he went for it on 4th down that proved incredibly costly. Mm-hmm. They were up 24-10 in the NFC title game against the Niners. Chance to take a 3-possession lead. Went for it on 4th down, didn't get it. San Francisco went on to score 24 unanswered points, and they never were able to get the lead back again after that. And then there was another point in that game after that, down 27-24 in field goal range. Chance to tie the game, passed it up, didn't get it. And I just feel like Dan Campbell has no ability to recognize when he shouldn't do it. He's just like, oh, 4th and 1, 4th and inches, I'll just do it. I don't care.
I disagree.
And I know it's the whole thing about the mentality of the team, and this is what he is and this is his identity. But at the same time, I think there is a line of all right, recklessness versus actually recognizing when it's smart to go for it. I think Dan Campbell has no idea, and I think if he's not careful, it's going to end up costing him again, just like it did last year.
Yeah, it could always backfire. So you could always play the results. And yes, last year's NFC Championship game obviously did not pan out in their favor, Frank. But as long as you're consistent with the decisions, as long as the team understands that this is the mindset we have as a team, this is the way we want to play football, this is the attacking mindset we're going to have on both sides, offense and defense, I can live with the quasi-reckless and probably against the book analytical decision to go for it. I liked both attempts last night. I know one worked, one didn't.
You like the one deep in his own territory?
I do. because it showed.
I hated it.
Listen, if you're not going to be able to stop Green Bay, does it matter if they have to go 31 yards or 54 yards? If you know, if you don't feel confident in stopping them, and that proved pivotal when they went for it on 4th and inches later in the game on the 41 seconds left, whenever it was. And yeah, Jared Goff almost stumbled. And yeah, if you don't get it, then it blows up in your face. But Frank, the saying is, scared money don't make no money. And I understand that there is a line of demarcation between being just absolutely crazy and being aggressive. But Campbell came in on his first press conference in Detroit and said, we want to bite teams' kneecaps. That's who he is. That's who he wants his team to be. And if you understand that, I think you can live with the results. It's the wishy-washy. Sometimes we're going to be aggressive. Sometimes we're going to be passive. We have no identity. That drives me crazy with football and basketball teams. At least with Detroit, you know exactly what you're getting. You know, and the players know that if it doesn't work, you know who's going to take the blame? It's Dan Campbell. And when it works, you know who's going to get the praise? The players. And that's a guy you can play for. You love playing for. And I'm all for it. Listen, they've won 11 games in a row. They're 12-1 on the season. It's working. Is it perfect? No, but it's working.
Yeah, but especially the NFC title game last year, like there's certain times where you just have to recognize what's in front of you. You're up 24-10. If you kick a field goal, you're up 3 possessions, and you to pass that up for a chance to maybe score a touchdown. But the negative there is you miss it, and then all the momentum, you're in control of the game. And you miss it, and all of a sudden, San Francisco's got all the momentum. Everything that, the game was not going their way at all, and all of a sudden, they get this break, and the game just shifts completely. You had a chance to take a 3-possession lead, and you opted not to do it because you're so fixated on your little, identity, and, this is what I do. But sometimes you just got to look at the situation and understand, like, if we take they have to score 3 times and us 0 times for, them to get back in this game. And
he was going for the kill. Like, it was going for the kill shot.
Yeah, but a 3-possession lead is, that's essentially the kill. Like, and I'm worried about it because, well, not actually worried because I couldn't give a crap whether the Lions actually win or not. But if I were a Lions fan, I'd be worried about, like, this is going to cost us again. Like, there's going to be a big moment with a chance to, like, in the NFC title game or maybe even the Super Bowl where, they're in a spot where they go for it, it misses, and it completely backfires. Like, I get that this is identity, but you got to have a sense of, I think, a better sense of awareness. And another thing with Detroit that also scares me is that all the injuries on their defense.
Yeah,
like
that's a big concern.
Philly is going to, if it ends up happening, Detroit NFC title game, Philly is going to just run down their freaking throats, and they're not going to be able to stop it. Their only chance that Detroit would have in that game, and then they can do this, is play ball control and just have these 10 to 15 play 8 to 10 minute drives. And that's the recipe that they'll have to do if they're going to win, the NFC and potentially the Super Bowl.
Detroit has found ways all season to win games that you look back and you say, should they really have won? And they find ways to win. It's a proven team. They had playoff success before. They haven't reached the Super Bowl, but they've won playoff games in the past. And right now, I have a hard time betting against them. I really do. Now, obviously, if you're talking spread, different story, but I think this team just kind of has that team of destiny vibe. And with the idea that, I'm not sure if you caught it last night, but Herb Street said there's a chance that Aiden Hutchinson can be back for the Super Bowl if they make it. Having like
come on. I'm not
hope in the back of the mind. I'm not betting against the Lions right now. I'm not.
If I'm a Lions fan, I'd be concerned about Campbell because this has backfired before, and I'd be terrified about the run.
But but hold on, who do you have more confidence in, Campbell or Sirianni? Like,
I think the Eagles are back. I think
Eagles are good, but do you trust Sirianni?
Yeah, he's coached in the Super Bowl before. Like, they were on the doorstep of winning the whole thing. Saquon Barkley has completely changed that whole team, and this leads us right into our MVP conversation. Like, all right, so I believe that Josh Allen should be the MVP because
he should be.
I think the biggest barometer for how MVP should be judged is what are they without this player? And I think the Bills without Josh Allen are like, I don't know, a 6-win team. But with him,
it's that.
Their ceiling. I guess you replace him with like an average quarterback, 6 to 7 wins. But Josh Allen turns them into, a perennial top 3 seed in the AFC. So I think that's why he's the MVP, even though Lamar may have more impressive stats or whatnot. But And that's why I think he ultimately wins. But I do think that what Saquon Barkley has done to the Eagles and the way how he's completely taken all of the pressure off of Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni, because Nick Sirianni was about to get fired, and then Saquon just went absolutely berserk. So I think if my MVP ballot right now would be, even though Mahomes doesn't have great stats, it would still be Josh Allen 1, Saquon 2, Mahomes 3, because the Chiefs, despite how they are barely winning these games, like they still have the tied for the best record in the AFC, and like Mahomes is he just means so much to that team, and so that's how I would view the MVP right now.
Not only am I financially tied pretty heavily to Josh Allen winning the MVP, so he is 100% the MVP in my mind at this moment. I don't think it's a question. It's a no-brainer. And it sucks that non-quarterbacks have no shot at an MVP anymore, despite what the odds say, despite what they want to push on you about Saquon Barkley, who I'll talk about in a sec. The quarterback's the most valuable position, not just in football, Frank, but in sports. And the best quarterbacks, when you look at the teams that have elite talent, if you put Josh Allen in the Eagles offense with Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, and Saquon, we're talking about one of the most dynamic offenses in the history of football. Look at some of the other teams you could put him on with those weapons. But no, he's in an offense with James Cook, who's a fine running back. Not great.
He's good. No, he's really good.
Solid, really good to push it, but he's solid for sure. Their receiving core, they traded for Amari Cooper, who's been in and out. Keon Coleman's been hurt. He's a rookie. Khalil Shakir has been good, but most casual fans outside of a fantasy perspective have no idea the plethora of weapons Josh Allen has done. He has had this team that traded away Stephon Diggs, traded away Tre'Davious White. They cut guys to get under the salary cap to make this kind of the rebuild year so that next year they had more financial flexibility to go out and get some weapons. They're right up there with Kansas City for the best record in the AFC. They actually have a more favorable FPI to make the 1 seed than Kansas City because of the remaining schedule and their head-to-head win over the Chiefs. What he's done this year is nothing short of remarkable. They were expected to take a step back this season. Instead, this is the best season they've been having to date.
Yeah, we got Josh Allen.
It's Josh Allen. It's Josh Allen. Saquon, the most impressive Saquon stat, Frank, in the second halves of football games this year, he's averaging 8.1 yards per carry in the second half.
See, yards per carry
running teams down.
Yards per carry is like, it's such a deceiving stat because you could have 10 carries for 60 yards and one of those be a 48-yard run. Yeah. So like, as much as people like, oh my God, he's averages 8 yards a carry. Like every time you give him the ball, you get 8. It's like, no.
But in the second half, when you have to run the ball to control the clock and put teams away, Saquon's been at his best. He's been better in the second half. And granted, and to your point, a lot of that's inflated by the giant second half against the Rams on Sunday Night Football, where you had those 2 monster runs. But 8.1 isn't just good for this year. It's the best of all time. So he's been the most effective, efficient runner in the history of football in the second halves of games this season. And he deserves a lot of credit. He should be the offensive player of the year. But if you replace Saquon with a league average running back, the Eagles offense is still pretty good. If you replace Josh Allen with a league average quarterback, that is a 500 at best football team. And we're talking about most valuable player. It's a quarterback 10 out of 10 times. It's Josh Allen. Then it's a gap. Then it's Lamar Jackson. Then it's a gap. Then it's Mahomes. And then Saquon 4.
Really?
Yeah.
This year, though? This year?
Yes.
Okay.
Mahomes is not, listen, as someone who drafted Pat Mahomes, I put money on Mahomes to win MVP before the season.
You say drafted him. No way. He's not having a good fantasy year, so you're probably frustrated at the fact that he's not giving you the fantasy production that you were hoping for. I totally understand.
No, I traded him midseason, so I'm not even worried about his fantasy stats anymore. But he's just not playing at an MVP level. He has 19 touchdowns, 11 picks. He's been sacked 32 times. His quarterback rating, his total QBR, his EPA per dropback, they're all middle of the pack. Yes, he's won games, but I think a lot of reasons they've won games is they run the ball a ton, and their defense outside of the last 2 weeks has been really good. So he's not in my top 2.
All right. So the big elephant in the room is Juan Soto, and the amount of people claiming
he's ruining your life, Frank. Just admit it. Juan Soto is ruining your life.
Let me just talk. So the amount of people that like claim they have, he spoke to a source in the Dominican Republic. Oh, Juan Soto's sister is looking for real estate in Boston. Carlos Mendoza's son, Mets have offered him, 15 years, $700 million. It's like the amount of people that claim to, and there's this stupid reporter in Los Angeles. This KTLA guy, I don't even know his name. His name doesn't even deserve to be said, but he claims that it's imminent. Mets going to sign Juan Soto. It's like, I can't wait for him not to sign with the Mets and just obliterate this guy and ruin everything about him. Literally ruin his life. for being wrong, for claiming to like have the scoop. But so forget all the people. The only people that post about Juan Soto that I trust and care about are Jeff Passan and Jack Curry. That's it. Anyone else who's saying crap, even like John Heyman is, he gets information from teams, but like I feel like they almost use him in a way that to like spin a narrative.
They kind of put stuff out through Heyman. Yeah, I agree with that.
So I don't like just because John Heyman says something, I don't really truly believe that like, oh, it's fact. I just think that he's being worked by agents and general managers to spin a message a certain way. So in terms of Juan Soto, only care about Jeff Passan and Jack Curry. But as for who I think Soto will actually sign with, so if I am Steve Cohen, who is the richest owner in all of baseball, this is his moment to be the new like evil empire. Like I dream of, not like good dream, but like I picture in my mind like a back page of the New York Post, like him wearing like a king's crown, like holding that like stick, and like the new ruler of New York, Steve Cohen, after he inks Juan Soto to, you know, a 15-year, you know, $1 billion like this is like the moment that I feel like he's been waiting for as an owner of a team to like truly make his mark. And that's what I'm most afraid of, is that he is going to make a situation where Juan Soto simply cannot say no to Steve Cohen, because he will do whatever it takes to finally get the upper hand over the mighty Yankees, who have ruled the town for basically 100 years.
And that's your worst nightmare, right?
It's not my worst nightmare, because I think a part of Soto, well, I think, and also, but as much as this is a legacy move for Steve Cohen, it's also one for Hal Steinbrenner, who, if he misses out on Juan Soto to Steve Cohen, like this, the amount of a negative hit this has on his credibility is enormous. Like the Steinbrenner name, the whole legacy of what that George built during his, you know, tenure as owner, and passing it on to Hal as being, you know, this is our city. This is like the Yankees are the team. Like that goes out the window. So he's got so much both guys have so much at stake. And there's also the Soto perspective, where obviously you want as much money as possible and you want to set all the records. But on the other hand, and I guess the counter argument is, oh, if the owner just wants to, you know, pay as much luxury taxes, whatever, and then he'll just sign whoever he wants anyway. So why would you care about how much your contract is? But there's also part of Soto where, all right, if like Hal Steinbrenner talks to Soto and says, hey, listen, we'll sign you, we'll give you, you know, whatever, $700 million for 15 years. But if you want us to go like 800 for 15 years, or 900 for 15 years, or $1 billion for 15 years, like then we can't sign Max Fried and Corbin Burns and Anthony Santander and whoever else. All these big, like, it really hamstrings us. So if you take a little bit less than maybe Steve Cohen's offering, we could really improve this team. We were in the World Series last year. So it's a matter of like what the selling point is for Soto. And I'm very curious to see truly what his priorities are. Is it truly just about who gives me you? So you think in your mind, there's no doubt Soto is just going to whichever team just gives him the biggest bag.
No, if like Colorado was offering the biggest bag,
right? But forget Colorado. It's only, everyone knows, despite these idiots I work with who think that it's the Red Sox still have a chance. The Red Sox have no chance. It's the Yankees or the Mets. So we're just focusing on the Yankees or the Mets. I don't want to hear about any other teams.
So why wouldn't he just take the biggest bag? He doesn't have to leave cities. He could stay in the exact same apartment. Like, it comes down to money at that point.
Right, but the selling point for Hal Steinbrenner and Brian Cashman could be like, listen, the Mets are offering whatever, $800 million for 15 years, but we're offering you, you know, $720. Like, in the grand scheme of things, over 15 years, it's only like $6 million a year, which you easily make up in endorsements or whatnot. But if we do that for us, what we can do is we can, you know, we were in the World Series last year. We just signed, you know, Fried and Burns. Like, in addition to you, like, we could be a dynasty. Like, could that be a way he potentially thinks about this?
I have worked now with enough athletes, Frank, to know everyone is wired totally different. There are some guys who would 1,000% say, I want to win a championship. I want to be known as the greatest of all time. I want to be part of this unbelievable dynasty and franchise. And let's do it. I'll take a little less. Someone else can take a little more. Let's make it work. I also know guys who would take the bag, and good for them. I don't know how Soto's wired. I've never talked to Soto. I've never interviewed Soto. I'm obviously in Cleveland. I have no interaction with him. I think it's kind of telling that in his first press conference, and granted, he was publicly posturing, he said, I'm open to the highest bidder. Like, if you have an offer, make an offer. I'm down for whatever. Now, I don't think that means going to Saudi Arabia if they offer him $1 billion, but like within reason, I think money does play a giant factor to him, even though he's made more money than, you and I will dream of, and he'll have generational wealth forever based on whoever he signs with because of the just ginormousness of this contract. So I don't know what he's made up. He's already won a championship, Frank. So he's not a guy who's necessarily chasing a ring, which scares me, which is why I think money could be a bigger factor than someone who hadn't won their first ring yet. He doesn't have to have that, oh, well, Soto never did it, never was good enough to win the whole thing. He doesn't have the Aaron Judge kind of dark cloud hanging over him as far as he's a great player, but doesn't come through in the postseason. Like, he's done all that. He's proven it. What else do you have left? Get as much money as you can. I'm not saying that's right, but I can't rule that out as a way of his thinking.
Yeah, I mean, if the Mets sign him, it's going to be so, like, what you think the contract is, it's going to be like, it's going to blow away everyone. Like, that's what I think. It's just going to blow everybody away incredibly for him to go to the Mets. And I think Steve Cohen's certainly capable of doing that, which scares me. But we'll see what happens here. I do think, though, deep down, Soto wants to stay with the Yankees. He truly embraced, like, his last year, like, with the crowd. And, I've never seen a player I've been watching the Yankees my whole life, like, leaving the dugout, going out to the crowd, and, like, he, like, points to the crowd, and they, like, salute him, and they give him a standing ovation every time he, like, comes out to the field, like, literally every inning. It's like incredible. And I do think that he wants to stay with the Yankees, and I do think that he would be, because, like, Scott Boras can say whatever he wants, but I think that deep down, like, as long as the Yankees have a competitive offer that's, like, relatively close to what Steve Cohen offers, I think he's going to stay with the Yankees. But there's also a situation where Steve Cohen, like I said, he could offer $1 billion. And so it's like, damn, like, he really put me in a situation where I cannot turn this down. And that's the situation where I see how we could end up with the Mets. But we'll see.
Hopefully it comes to a conclusion this weekend, because I need you to get.
It should, because I think Steve
Cohen.
Cohen.
Older than I saw you last week. Like, the stress of the Soto saga is completely taking its toll on your physical state. And
because if the Mets get Soto over the Yankees, that is the biggest win the Mets will have had over the Yankees ever.
Yeah.
So there's so much pressure on so many people here. So we'll see how it goes. A couple other things we want to hit on before we have to wrap up. So, Bill, I thought it was hilarious. All this news going around, and it did happen that Bill Belichick did interview for the UNC football head coaching job. There is a negative % chance Bill Belichick takes his job. First of all, he's basically the same age as Mac Brown, who
he's 1 year older. Or 1 year younger. 1 year younger.
Yeah, 1 year younger. But essentially the same age. So you just, like, pushed out the 73-year-old, and now you're going to hire a 72-year-old who's maybe going to be around for, I don't know, 2 to 3 years. He's not going to be there for, like, 10 to 15 years. And, like, when you're trying to recruit, like, oh, he's only going to be there for a year or two. Like, why would I want to come play for Bill Belichick? Like, there's just no chance in hell this possibly happens. I think the interview, despite what's being said, I think it's more about, hey, Bill, we just got rid of Mac. What do you think we should do? Who are some guys? I think it was more, despite what's being reported, I just don't believe that there's any chance that that they actually think that he's the guy to turn around the North Carolina program. He's never coached in college. The amount of time you have to spend, he loves going on his summers and tuck it. Like, there's the negative.
Can you imagine him recruiting, Frank? Like in all seriousness, other than him being Bill Belichick, can you imagine him walking into a high school junior's living room with their parents and saying, "Hey, come to UNC. I may not be here when you get here in 2 years. Maybe retired by then, but sign up with the Tar Heels." Like, no, 0.0% chance. There's a better chance of you or I being the head coach at UNC next than there is of Bill Belichick. It is great for the school. It gets their name out there. It puts some more interest in the job. Maybe it attracts some other candidates. It puts them on the map, especially right before signing day or right after signing day, before the transfer portal window opens up. And, as a staff, maybe they can recruit guys, say, hey, maybe Bill Belichick, we can't tell you for sure he's not going to be here when you show up on campus in 2 months if you sign as a transfer. But no, it's not. Bill Belichick's going to be an NFL head coach next year. He's got 2
well,
or 3
that's the thing.
left.
So hang on.
He's not
Before you
going
say
to
that,
college.
hang on.
Stop it.
So did this news come out because Belichick isn't getting the NFL maybe interest that he thought he was going to get, and he's like, all right, crap.
I gotta. No, he did. Listen, good for UNC. Like, good for them, and good for Bill. Get an interview out your way. Like,
I think a part of me wants to believe that, like, Bill Belichick realized, like, oh crap, like, I'm not getting the amount of offers or whatever, or no one's contacting me. Like, I gotta like get my name out there that somebody is at least interested in me. I think that might have played a part in it. As much as the little proof as I have, I just think that he had to like do something where to get his name back in the news about like still being interested because he still wants to coach. Like that's still happening.
If nothing else, Frank, this just proves that he wants to get back into coaching. That he has a 1-year media hiatus, and next season, somewhere he will be a head coach. It will not be at UNC, but he will be a head coach somewhere next year.
It will not be in college football. It will not be in college football.
It'll be an NFL coach next year somewhere, yes.
Yeah, there's a -% chance that he is. Maybe he'll be the coach of the Giants. Who knows?
I take it. I like Daboll, though.
I think, and this may be a hot take, but I just think there's so many like coach-quarterback duos ever, but there's no denying Bill Belichick has been an absolute nobody without Tom Brady. Never won anything, barely finished above 500. Yeah, he had a couple, good, took the Browns to the playoffs. But besides, and then I believe maybe 1 year with Mac Jones in the playoffs. But aside from that, like,
I mean, you talk about. It's
I'm just saying. I know. He's somebody great. He is one of the greatest coaches ever. He is not the greatest coach ever, in my opinion. But that's a whole other argument for another day. Last thing before we go, the Browns. Listen,
finally,
if Thursday night proved anything, it's that Jameis Winston cannot be the starting quarterback of this team next season.
Wrong. Thursday night proved nothing because they played on Monday night. Loser.
Oh, sorry, Monday night.
Back straight.
Right, it was Monday Night Football. If Monday night proved anything, it's that Jameis cannot be the starting quarterback of the Browns. They cannot give him the keys to the car. Because, listen, my opinion, they should be a weekly game where Jameis Winston gets to play quarterback in prime time because it is electrifying. It is so entertaining. I love every second of it. But if you're actually trying to win consistently, then you're wasting your time because he is so careless. He is the most careless decision maker with the football I've ever seen in my whole time watching football. He holds onto the ball. He stares down receivers and the defense. And while he can be, the talent is there. He is obviously was the number 1 overall pick for a reason, won a national championship at Florida State. Like, he's got all the ingredients to be an elite NFL quarterback, but his decision-making is absolutely horrific.
Yeah, we talked Jameis all week. That Monday Night Football game was the epitome of who Jameis Winston has been throughout his career. The highest of highs, the lowest of lows, 2 pick sixes. Could have been 3 if Judy doesn't chase down the guy from the back who could have returned it for a 99-yard touchdown. He threw for 497 yards. When you look at the Browns' options, they need a bridge quarterback. Jameis has done some really nice things. I would not commit to him yet. There's no need, no hurry to commit to him. But when you look at the other potential options as bridge quarterbacks this offseason, he may be.
Bridge is fine. But like,
he may be
like committing to him as like to replace Deshaun Watson and be the full-time guy like for the next 5 to 7 years. Absolutely not.
No, and I don't get the sense at the moment that's how the Browns are. Look, I mean, think about it. They demoted him to third-string quarterback the week before Deshaun got hurt. And he only got in because then DTR got hurt the same game Deshaun got hurt. So, he's done some really good things. He's played well. He's played well enough to earn himself a chance to keep starting this season and prove whether he could be the bridge guy or one of
bridge guy is a ceiling. Bridge guy is a ceiling.
If you let me finish a point, maybe you can see where I'm going. But yeah, Jameis has incredible potential to win you a game and incredible potential to lose you a game on any given Sunday, which makes watching Jameis when your team is not headed to the playoffs the most fun thing in the entire world. Frank, as someone who has to watch the Browns for work, you have no idea what you're getting on a game-to-game basis. It could be a 50-point explosion. It could be a 7-interception car wreck, and you can't take your eyes off it. And it is terrific. If the Browns were at 9-4 and in a playoff hunt, it would cause heart attacks left and right. I think Cleveland would have the highest number of urgent care calls on Sundays from people just going into cardiac arrest if these games had real meaning. The fact that these games don't even have real meaning, it's fun. It would not be so fun if the consequences of throwing some of these interceptions were on the same line. But Jameis has done some really good things. And the interceptions kind of outweigh in the big picture perception of it the good, but he has done some really, 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 really good things too. And he can play. If you could ever find a way to rein in the carelessness at times, you can have a really good quarterback, but he's been in the league for almost a decade and no coach has been able to fully rein that in and harness the true power of Jameis. Maybe it's Stefanski if he's the full-time starter. But I'll tell you this, Frank, last point on Jameis. They can't bring Watson and Jameis back. And I'm not quite sure what you do with the whole Watson contract situation, because if you cut him, it's the most money ever. It's double Russell Wilson against the cap. But after they signed Jameis was Watson's hype man entering this year. He was brought here to put Deshaun in the right mental place to get him back to being the Houston quarterback. There's not a single guy in that locker room, 1 through 52, and if you want to include practice squad 1 through 85, that can look at each other and say, Deshaun's a better quarterback than Jameis. You can't bring them both back and have them expect to go through a competition when everyone already knows the outcome, but the guy who's not the better quarterback is making 10 times as much money. I don't know how you finagle that, but if you bring back Jameis, Deshaun can't be there.
Deshaun's a disaster. He could never play again. No team should ever want to trade for Deshaun Watson. He's a disaster because there's no team that's going to want to trade, even get a first-round pick back. You cannot do it. He is so finished. But I got to run, Mike. This has been an unbelievable live stream of the Lucas podcast.
It worked. Hey, we had 48 live viewers, Frank.
Let's
Is that
go.
the most views we've ever gotten on one of our podcasts since college? It might be.
Peace.
We'll see you next week.